I want to be an astronaut when I grow older.
And here is the apogee of the orbit. I would now like you to calculate the following using the data provided. Duration of orbital insertion burn, mass of payload, and altitude at perigee.
On the surface of the Earth, the heart pumps blood downwards with the assistance of gravity and upwards against the gravitational pull. Now, what happens in free fall when the body is weightless? Does the heart beat faster or slower?
Good news. This is your last day of theory. You'll be happy to know practical begins tomorrow. At 0600 hours, we blast off for the Space Relay Station, Hathor. Then transfer to the starship Horus. The Horus with iron jets 100 times more powerful than the biggest atomic motor in space. Any volunteers for the great adventure?
7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Well, at first
2,
I thought it was an earthquake,
1,
but it was only a muscle contraction.
0.
Something's wrong. Why should I feel so heavy?
Now, why do we all suddenly weigh a ton? I was planning a wonderful virus infection. That gets you down, doesn't it?
Normal atmospheric pressure is now restored in the cabin. Exercise caution in releasing straps, as we shall shortly be in zero gravity. When the motor stops burning, we shall be in orbit. Cutting thrust to 0 now.
First I thought I was a lump of lead. Now I can float like a What's the meaning of this, Professor? Why are we flying?
I'll hazard a guess. The law of gravity has been repealed.
I enjoy life without the law of gravity. It's really fun.
Pressure is now 1 atmosphere.
Well, we've made a good beginning, chaps. We're going to take over the space shuttle, and no mistake.
Goodness me, you've got a cold, and that could be very serious. We have a virus on board, even though the cabin was disinfected before blastoff. We must act without delay. Firstly, to tackle the virus inside, a dose of alpha interferon to activate your bodily defenses. Secondly, get into your spacesuits.
Opening airlock now. Disinfection completed. Air pressure is restored to 1 atmosphere.
You can check all the viewing ports. The station should be clearly visible now.
Right, Colonel.
Look at that.
There she is. Isn't that fantastic?
Professor Maestro needs no introduction. He's the leading scientist of our century and the leader of our latest expedition.
Here you are at last, the members of 200 carefully selected families who will take part in man's greatest adventure, the exploration of interstellar space. And I'm proud of the fact that men are going to the stars, not robots or computers. In the early years of the 21st century, there were great strides made in the field of genetic engineering. Outstanding physical specimens were produced. The finest athletes were created. The biggest brains, as well as subhuman creatures destined to perform menial tasks. There were even birdmen and fishmen in those benighted days. Power-mad men ruled the world at that time. Eventually, their excesses drove people to revolt. A few ambitious scientists tried to achieve immortality and a blueprint for just government by having their brains housed inside an enormous computer. The machine was also supposed to provide an eternal storehouse for their psyches. I'm sure you've all heard mention of the Grand Computer. But the Grand Computer was a failure. It became a megalomaniac machine which believed itself to be all-powerful and superior to its creators.
Bow down and worship me. I am the Grand Computer.
Men of flesh and blood defeated this machine and switched it off. And now ordinary men and women made of flesh and blood are about to undertake the greatest adventure of all time. At our beck and call, we have the most powerful computers ever created. Should anyone need to draw information from the total sum of human knowledge, then a simple implanted chip is all he needs to access this database. Yes, and yet the human brain outthinks the computer. And we ordinary mortals with our puny lifespan of 100 years at most, we shall explore the stars, explore eternity. Our starship with its ion jet propulsion is incredibly fast. However, even if we could touch the speed of light, which is 300,000 kilometers per second, it would take us 250,000 years to cross our own galaxy. And 10 times longer to voyage to Andromeda, our nearest galactic neighbor. This means that it will take maybe 100, maybe 1,000 years to explore only a few of the solar systems in the Milky Way looking for a habitable planet. Of course, none of us will live to see that day. No, the discovery will be made by the remote descendants of the people in this hall. And on that day, humanity will have taken a gigantic leap forward. Eventually, stately space liners will link Earth to her new colony. On that day, our species shall become the leading light of the space lanes. And on that distant day, lost to us in the furthest reaches of the future, the day when our children set foot on a new planet, we shall be with them. We shall be there, in the bodies of our descendants, in their chromosomes, which will have been transmitted from generation to generation. Yes, our chromosomes will move us into the future,